Good evening, everybody, or good night, depending on where you are. Hopefully, everybody can hear me nice and clear. My name's Leroy Smart, and this is my preview of Jamaica's next game in the CONCACAF Nations League against Honduras tomorrow. Please like, share, and subscribe for the Reggae Boyz community. They're doing really good work in Jamaica and a few other places. Lots of charitable work and bringing a little bit of visibility to the Reggae Boyz and supporters and people all around the world. So please support them. Please support the channel. Hopefully everybody's okay, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the game on Friday. Now, I had, in my previous stream, had been quite guarded in my prediction, as I probably predicted a 1-0 or 2-0 win. But privately, I was really angling towards a draw, and so it had turned out. Now, it didn't really transpire that the game panned out the way we thought. Cuba had a player sent off, and that probably changed the way the game panned out, with them really parking the bus in the second half. And the Jamaica team did attract a lot of criticism for the chances missed. Not so much how they played, but probably the chances missed. However, it is very hard to break down a team who are defending with 10 behind the ball. There's very little space. You more or less have 20 players, 18 to 20 players in 1/3 of the pitch. So it is very hard for the players to find space. You're really looking at the wide players to really join in with the play, or a midfielder to try and find that little bit of space, which is going to help. And it proved quite difficult for Jamaica. We created big chances, no doubt. Antonio missed a chance. Low, Shamar, Demaya Gray had a half chance, but it proved that we just couldn't find the back of the net, which shouldn't really be a surprise. We have not been a prolific goal-scoring team at the best of times. We've had periods in games in the past where we've looked very good, but we haven't taken chances. And at this level of football, irrespective of the rankings of the teams, the difference in games is probably 1 or 2 goals. And for a team who are well organized, and we have to recognize that a lot of the Cuban players probably played domestically, so they've had a longer time to prepare than the Jamaica side, who were bringing in players from 4 corners of the world. And so that cohesiveness may take a little while to come. Defensively, we know we're quite well organized, but offensively, we still lack something. We do lack a prolific goal scorer, but it's either you have one or you don't. And at the moment, we know that Antonio is not that guy. Boza, whilst he has a good international goal scoring record, we know that he is not that guy either. We need someone who's a taker of half chances, and I can't really see any around. So it's just really hard work across the entire team to get those goals. It was pleasing to see the possession, 500 passes plus being carried out, but that probably reflects the level of the opposition and the fact that they had 10 players in the second half. But still, it's a pleasure to see a Jamaican side move the ball around with patience, looking for an opening, and just trying to maneuver their way through the Cuban defense. And we have to recognize that it is far easier to organize a team to defend than it is to organize a team to attack. And so, whilst I expected the Cuban side to be well drilled, once they went a man down, they just put their gloves back on, sat back, and decided to just dig in and see if they could get a point, and they did. Their keeper also played very well as well. We have to acknowledge that. I don't think it was for want of trying for the team. I mean, when you're playing against a well-drilled team, at some stage you're going to realize that it's going to have to be a half chance in order to get to secure the game. It's not going to be the 3-0, 4-0 I saw some people predicting in the comments. and you're just looking for the one goal. And we created the chances, we just couldn't take them. And I don't think the coach can be blamed for that. His selection did surprise me. It was surprising that a player who was not originally selected in the squad was then brought in as a replacement and started the game. But I think that reflects on the fact that he's either unfamiliar or doesn't trust any of the players outside of the little nucleus of the English players or the English-based players who started the game. I think certain members of the squad were obviously recommended to him by the technical committee, which is not a problem because he's come into the job and the JPL was on a break. And so he wouldn't have been familiar with a lot of the local players. And I think as time goes on, it'd be interesting to see which one of those are brought into the fray, which ones may make the squad. But certainly the fact that he took so long to make certain substitutions didn't surprise me. I think if I put myself in his position and I look to the bench and there are players I'm not familiar with, it's a matter of trust. I don't know what they can do. And so I probably would not trust them. I probably would stick with what I know and leave it at that. So, you know, it is what it is. A point should have been more, but what else can we say? You know, we just have to live to fight another day. And that day is tomorrow. We have the Hondurans. We're in their backyard. They're one of these teams who are always dangerous at home. I watched their game against Trinidad and Tobago, and for the first 30 minutes, the Trinidadians gave them a good game, but then it fell apart spectacularly. First goal was a goal from outside the 18-yard box, a wicked shot which took a deflection. Second goal, similar. Last goal was a breakaway with the TNT defense missing. But whether it's a matter of fitness or really their discipline just went in the latter part of the game, it was surprising. The result was surprising. I don't think anyone expected such a heavy defeat, but it does show the Hondurans to be quite an exciting attacking side. They've got players who can take people on one-on-one. They've got guys who can finish. I was watching the game and in retrospect was thinking that if maybe one or two of our Jamaican players had those chances, would they finish? But then again, I don't think in our game on Friday, there was such an open midfield and an opposition defense who retreated into the 18-yard box and left clear areas on outside the 18-yard box, which is where the first two goals from Honduras came from. Nobody closing down players at the edge of the box, and they can shoot. So I think that's something we need to look at. Sorry, guys, I know you're saying that the volume is low, but hopefully if I speak a bit louder, you guys can hear me. All right? So speaking as loud as I can. So, yes, it's a case where it's going to be a difficult game. We're playing on their home ground. It's a nice, tight ground. The pitch looks absolutely in immaculate condition, so we should have no excuses to continue with our new passing game. But they are going to be difficult. We know that the Spanish-speaking sides have very, very strong home support. They will make everything as difficult as possible. But defensively, we have a very good side. It's just whether we can translate the signs we saw from the attacking perspective, which can translate into the latter thirds of the pitch. And hopefully Antonio, Damari Gray can find their shooting boots. Now, as I said, defensively, I actually think the Hondurans will fear us more than we will fear them. We've seen this in games gone by where they've been very cautious when they've played a Jamaican side, and for good reason. We can be dangerous, and I think we are better away from home, where we can play on the counter-attack and we're defensively strong. And I think we have a well-structured team defensively. But what was pleasing on Friday was offensively, the player who impressed me the most was Casey Palmer. I was quite impressed in how he tried to find the spaces. He tried to be aggressive. He tried to be daring with the passes. Nothing wrong with playing the ball to players who are tightly marked and looking for little one-twos and knock-ons and playing balls around the corner. And I thought he was trying to do this a lot of the time. Um, I think a lot of the players did play well. Low on the right-hand side, I think, played well. I was surprised at the formation. I didn't expect him to start. But be that as it may, I thought he played well enough to secure his position for the next game. I didn't expect the other Low to start, Damien Lowe, and but the defense never really had a lot to do, so that didn't really prove to be costly in the end. Um, However, tomorrow, surprisingly enough, I really expect the same 11 to be picked again. I can't see any reason to change it. I think away from home, we need a big, strong player up front who can hold up the ball. And technically, Antonio, I think, can hold up the ball much better than Shamar, who I think would be an easy like for like change. Damari keeps his place on the left, and I think Lowe keeps his place on the right. I know people are talking about other players coming in on that right hand side, but I can't see any reason why that would happen unless there's an injury or they're tired legs. And that will depend what happens in the final training session. Midfield stays the same. The back four stays the same, unless he's going to switch to a 3-5-2, which I doubt. And if there are going to be any changes, I can only see it being at right back or in midfield. Mbakisa attracted a bit of criticism for his performance, but I think his strength is really in going forward and supporting the right wingers, the central strikers, rather than being defensively sound. And I think with our lack of goals in the side, I think that is more important than being defensively sound, especially here. I think we're structured well enough to defend the ball. It's just what McLaren can coach into the players in really opening up defenders. Damari Gray had a quiet game on the left-hand side, which is unusual for him, but he still created enough. He had one half chance and he created the cross for Mikel Antonio, which he glanced against the post. But all in all, we created enough chances to give me confidence that away from home, where I think our game is better suited to go to tough places like your El Salvador's, your Costa Rica, your Panama, and Honduras, and eke out results. Keep it defensively tight. The home team is going to have to come out and play. Their supporters are going to expect them to come out and play. And as long as we keep ourselves in the game, see the first 30 minutes through, then we then start to play our game. We know we've got pace. We know we've got players who, on paper, are better than the opposition. But I think the advantage a lot of the Spanish-speaking sides has, and I noticed with this Honduran side, they have quite a number of either players who are based at home in their domestic league or playing in Central America or North America. And I think in a lot of cases that gives these teams advantages. They're more cohesive, they have a better understanding, they're more fluid. And this can sometimes be to our disadvantage when we're flying in players from different parts of the world who are playing different systems, some in Europe, some in America, some in Eastern Europe. And then it's for the players to shake off those entrenched kind of way they play and bring it into the national team. Because as we all acknowledge at the moment, Jamaica is still trying to develop a style of play which is identifiable and which players can just be dropped into and fit straight away. I agree with the driver. We could do without Low in defense tomorrow, but I think if we don't play Low, then it'll probably be Deshaun Bernard. It can be easily be Latibadua, but somehow I can't imagine the manager changing it. Unless he decided that Cuba was an easy game, and so we'll start with Low. Honduras is always going to be a difficult game, so he may change it. But I expect the same side more or less to be chosen. But, you know, I think a lot of people would rather not be in the side. Tennessee Lewis, big up. Driver, big up yourself as well. Mr. United, I see you on lots of other streams. So pleasure to see you here as well. Nathan, you say I love my team, but I am not naive. Is this a Jamaica side or is this Man United? But as this is a preview for the Jamaica game, we'll press on. So yes, the selection for tomorrow I don't expect to be that much different. Hopefully we have no injuries. Hopefully all the players are fit. And hopefully he has seen a little bit more of the fringe players to trust them more if the game isn't going our way. Who knows what goes on behind closed doors. I didn't get much from the press conference. And in fact, I stopped watching it. I didn't think there could be press conferences organized as poor as Jamaica does sometimes. But the Hondurans certainly took the cake. So, shaky camera work, poor audio, maybe like this one, but don't kill me, and ridiculous questions. So I have no idea what McLaren said in the press conference. I started to listen and then found it totally uninteresting. And he looked also as puzzled as me. So not sure, but most managers say the right thing at press conferences. He's not gonna give up the starting 11. He'll keep them guessing. And so it should be, but hopefully we have as good a performance on the ball as we did on Friday. If we can control the pace of the game, we should expect that once the game starts, Honduras will take the initiative and press us back and try and open us up, try and draw fouls, try and get players sent off. That is to be expected, and that's how you play at top international level, especially with the Spanish-speaking sides. They're very cute on the ball. So we have to be aware of these things. So we need discipline. And if we can see through the first 30 minutes, then we can play our way into the game. Yes, Jeremy Lee, we need to score goals. You're absolutely right. But we don't have prolific goal scorers. Shamar has a good international goal scoring record, but if you want a half chance, you probably will be a little bit hesitant if it falls to him. He had a big chance, probably the clearest chance on Friday, and spurned it. We don't have a great scorer of simple goals. We don't. Whether it's players breaking the lines and going through on goal, we don't seem to finish our chances enough. We're not a high-scoring team. We never have been a high-scoring team unless we're playing the poorest of sides. So against your Mexicos, your USAs, your Panamas, we very rarely score more than 1 or 2 goals. And at international level, the difference in results is normally 1 goal or 2 goals. So we really need to take our chances. We're not going to magic a goal scorer up from anywhere. I mean, even though sometimes it frustrates me that people are always pulling out Jamaican players playing in all 4 corners of the world and trying to parachute them into the squad, none of them are goal scorers. If we're going to find players who we want to bring into the squad at short notice, if someone can find a player playing in the Dutch league or in the Spanish second division, if they're scoring a trailer load of goals, then by all means. But at the moment, we don't have players who are scoring goals. We know Antonio is not a great goal scorer. He's a utility man, but he can hold up the ball, which I think is needed in games like this to relieve the pressure. And we're not probably should expect to play our way to have trouble for the full 90 minutes tomorrow. But if we do need to go long and we need someone to hold up the ball and run the channels, there's nobody better than him. I certainly wouldn't want to see Shamar there. His technical ability, I think, is lacking. So I think Antonio at the moment is the best we have. And if somebody can tell me somebody else we have lurking in a league somewhere, I'd be really glad to know, but I don't know of any. Yeah. Stefan, you're saying that Honduras won't give us that much time on the ball as Cuba did? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But they may stand off of us as well. I don't know if you saw the TNT game, but Trinidad managed to pass the lanes quite easily, especially in the first half. I was really surprised. I mean, midfield, uh, they didn't seem as defensively strong as I expected, Honduras. And Trinidad, offensively, did look quite strong without really creating much with a final ball or a second pass before the final ball. But I was surprised how easy they managed to pass their way through the Honduran side. So if we could match that, we're stronger and we're more disciplined. I can't see us conceding the same goals that that Trinidad conceded. Retreating into the 18-yard box, not picking up your man, not closing down when players are shooting, turning. You have to take those blocks in your face or in some other part of your body. So I think that the TNT team showed that they're not defensively strong. And I don't know whether it was fitness, as I said before. They faded away and were just a shambles by the second half, with Honduras unsure whether they're that good or whether the opposition made them look that good. But certainly they showed a willingness to go forward, a willingness to attack, a willingness to take on players, a willingness to create openings. And that was interesting to see. It was a vibrant performance on a lovely pitch. The stadium was probably half full. I expect it to be rammed for Jamaica because they know that we're a stronger opposition and we have probably brand name players they probably would want to see. So I expect it to be a raucous atmosphere and making it hard for us. But we shouldn't fear coming to these places now. Hopefully the couple of days extra training should make us even better, more cohesive, a greater understanding of the principles which the manager is trying to embed. But we'll see. We'll see. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And it was amusing that people were criticizing the manager after the first game, which is football anyway. It's a team sport. Football is one of them sports where everybody thinks they know better. I mean, no one would turn up to the NBA or the US Open or the Super Bowl and be telling coaches what they should do and they know best and whatever. But football is one of those games where everybody has an opinion and everybody's opinion is valid. But as Brian Clough says, we can talk about things, we can discuss who's right and wrong, but at the end of the day, I'm the one who's always right. And in the end, it doesn't matter what we think or what we say. We know what the squad is. We should know by now from the first game, it's quite obvious who the manager trusts at the moment. And we shouldn't really expect any surprises. So he will live and die by his decisions, and he will live and die by the performance. It's hard to blame him for the game on Friday for the result, because I think it's one of those things where everything was okay apart from people not taking their chances. If Jamaica had won 3-0, 4-0 as people had predicted, then everyone would think it's a great start and his influence is already being shown and we can see a pattern of play, blah, 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 blah. So at the moment, it's probably not a bad thing that he didn't get an easy run. He has to fix up and come again. And it's a good stiff challenge for him, but I expect a draw at minimum. I'd be surprised if we lost, but I expect a draw at minimum, and I don't expect there to be a lot of goals. Certainly not from Jamaica. It would be nice. It'd be nice to see Antonio score goals. It'd be nice to see Damari Gray. As you said, Jamie Lee, yes, we need more from Damari on the left, but I think he's probably made a rod for his own back. So his first couple of performances were outstanding. He looked really dangerous. He looked threatening. And he had the confidence where he was taking on people and trying to ping in shots from cutting in on his right foot and trying to bend them in. He didn't have a lot of space on Friday. We have to acknowledge that. And I think in some cases he was doubled up on because, historically clubs, managers and teams will know that he's probably one of our more dangerous players. So if the Hondurans have done their work, they will have doubled up on him as well. So he will find space hard to come by. However, the fact that we're playing away from home would probably mean that fullbacks will be pushed up so that there'll be a little bit more space for him rather than him playing against a fullback and a centre half and a right midfielder who are sitting deep. And as soon as he picks up the ball, they're doubling up on him. So we will see the normal pattern where he goes down the left, stops, comes back in on his right foot, passes it inside because there's obviously no openings. And we're not really here to give away the ball or to take risks for no reason, especially away from home. You know, if we can put together 400 passes, that would be good. That would be a good platform and stay defensively sound. Then who knows? But we have to stay in the game for the first 30 minutes. That is the first rule of football. I've coached for many a year, and when you're going to hard places, tough grounds away from home, what you have to embed into your sides is that they stay in the game and keep it tight for the first 30 minutes. Silence the crowd, and it builds your confidence up. And once you see the opposition getting frustrated, then your game will come into play automatically. But everybody's got to be disciplined. But I think by now we've more or less had the same squad for a few games now. A lot of the players are familiar with each other. There should be a good brotherhood there. So really, as a unit, we should be organized. I don't expect a ragtag 11 being dissected by passes and the opposition breaking clear of our lines and scoring breakaway goals, which is what happened against Trinidad and which I have seen in Jamaican teams in the past, especially against the Mexicans who used to know that we are weak down the flanks, and that's where a lot of their goals used to come from, crosses. I think now we're very sound and secure across the back four and the midfield. We may not like the fact that the football is not vibrant and exciting and tick-a-tacker-ish, but we need a platform to build from. We can't go from what we had under Tapper and maybe Hal Grimson to all of a sudden a free-flowing, idealistic style of football like we see it in the Euros. Everybody lauding the virtues of the Spanish. Everybody criticizing the style of play of the other teams. But there's more than one way to skin a cat. And if you're not Spanish, it is going to be hard for you to play Spanish football, okay? Years ago, it was a Dutch style of football and everybody was following that. Yet the winning sides were Germany. I've never heard anyone say, let us follow the German style of football. I've never heard anyone say, let's follow the Italian style of football. And those teams have won as much internationally as the Spanish. The Spanish are a recent phenomenon. Yes, I'll accept that. But there's more than one ways to skin a cat. I did hear an interview from Rafa Benitez. If anyone's got time, check out the Stick to Football podcast with Gary Neville and Roy Keane and Ian Wright, where he's interviewed. And he says he's not a fan of tiki-taka and he's Spanish. But then we've seen that in the past when he was manager of Valencia. He's more pragmatic with something in between a structured, hard-running game and a bit of flair. He's in the middle. He says he doesn't like passing for pass's sake. Jeremy Lee, you're asking what position does Reece Nelson play? Reece Nelson plays where Jamal Lowe is playing, where Whisper plays, where Leon Bailey plays on the right. He can play on the left as well. I personally think I personally think Reece Nelson is a very good player. I'm an Arsenal supporter, and I'm baffled why Arteta hasn't given him much of a chance. But when a manager does not fancy you or rate you, it's obvious. And he was not rated or trusted by Arteta, so it's best for him to move on. And I think the problem we have with Jamaica at the moment is that we have a lot of players in similar positions. Reece Nelson is not a striker. He will play either side of a three. The same as Leon Bailey, the same as a Whisper, the same as a Damari Gray. So we're trying to get all of these players, their passports, their paperwork to play into the team. What we will have will be a top-heavy side, and we still haven't found a prolific striker, and we still haven't really found that one more midfield player everyone's looking for. So yes, I do rate Reece Nelson. Whether there's a need for him at the moment, I don't know. Whether he's actually looking to get his paperwork and play for Jamaica, I don't know. Other people may have ideas and stories and rumors, but I only go on who's available and who's not. And if a man isn't available and he ain't saying nothing, it is for other podcasts and other YouTubers to mount their shows and position their shows on who's coming, who's got paperwork, whatever. At the moment, we've got a squad of 22, and all of them guys have got their papers, and they're the only ones I'm interested in. Conrad, I hear you saying that Antonio is the best. We have Ravel. He is still the man. Yes, we've got the Ravel Morrison discussion again, and you know, unfortunately, Ravel. I don't know which manager which Jamaican manager Ravel Morrison would have flourished under, because under Tapper the team wasn't really that good. Under Helga, he lost his place in his club in America. Rooney brought him over there and they didn't give him a new contract, so he's left out in the open. And all I will say, okay, a good footballer is not hard to spot. And by a good footballer, I don't mean technical ability, all right? We have all seen great players over the years. Everybody knows a baller somewhere. However, it's the overall picture. And the fact that Ravel hasn't secured a contract with anyone yet, it's either reputational damage or people just don't fancy him to do the overall work as a midfielder. And personally, I don't think any player in this day and age will want a player who is just going to be the marquee player in midfield without doing the work off the ball. And until he finds a club, he's not going to be match fit. He's certainly not going to be match fit for international football. Nobody gets fit by running in a park. Nobody gets match fit by playing for a FA academy side. You don't get fit that way. You get fit by being in the gym, having a technical team behind you, measuring your output, measuring your workload, all of those things. So, in my opinion, I can't see Ravel being back in the Jamaica side anytime soon unless someone picks him up and he then hits the ground running. And I can't see that happening. So, yes, we're looking for someone. So, yes, Devon, I hear you say help is on the way. Yes, I know you're a man in the background. Patience is a virtue, not a necessity. You see the problem, Devon. I haven't spoken to you in a little while, but here's the problem I think now, or the fear I think. If this Jamaica side starts to develop and flourish, and then hits a nice run of form, yeah, winning games, qualifying, the players we've been waiting 2 years for, be a bit of problem integrating them into the side. That's on the assumption the team is doing well, doing remarkably well. So I just mentioned Reese briefly, and I'm sure there's other players, but is it the fact that we're getting numbers in the team, but not players who we need? Players for certain positions, talent spotting. There's a lot of names being flung around the place, but are they in the positions in which we need? Because there's certain players who are very similar. We seem to have a lot of offensive players, wide players, but you know, do they make the team better? Do they fit the structure of the team which is trying to be built? Conrad, I hear you say, Ravel going to find a club soon. I've been hearing that for 2 years, Conrad. I'm here in the UK. I know what he's doing. I've been hearing that for 2 years. So, and in the end, you can't go on hope. I don't think McLaren is losing any sleep waiting for Ravel to find a club. Jamaican fans seem to, because we like our marquee fair players, but I don't think McLaren or anyone else is waiting for Ravel anytime soon. Yeah. Guys, can you acknowledge that we have a weak bench? Yes, I think we have a weak bench because we're only really missing two players, two offensive players, as I mentioned before. Whisper and Leon Bailey. So yes, but then I think the fact that we've only picked 5 in midfield for this set of games probably means that that's a sure indication of, I think, what the manager is thinking. We obviously need numbers there, and I'm sure work is going in the background because I think those are the area that is the area where we're lacking a striker and a little bit more in midfield. Yes, Jeremy Lee, Conrad, we would love Ravel right now for real. Yes, yes, you're talking about the Ravel you see on TV and from a couple of years ago and everything, but do we know what the Ravel is now? Yes, Devon, just picking up your next comment, fully understand, but if a player is on top of his game, every coach would love to have a player in top form. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But if my memory serves me correctly, there was a bit of kickback from certain players from the diaspora being parachuted into the 98 team. And then the fall back on a certain Wimbledon player who it was discovered really used the opportunity to play for Jamaica to his own advantage. So, yes, we'll have to wait and see though. I mean, we're jumping the gun. I know you're doing work in the background, so hopefully it'll be the quality we need. But it'll be interesting to see if the team is doing well, because you don't really want to chase, you don't want to change a successful team. So we will see. Conrad, you're saying that No Whisper is not playing any man football. No, yes. And, you know, with Chelsea as well, that's kind of like a smoking gun because David Washington, who he's vying for a position with, has been put in Chelsea's bomb squad to be sold. So is Whisper being lined up to be next to develop and then they get a 5-10 million for him, like they've done for David, even though I don't think he's been sold yet. So we'll have to wait and see. But he's injured, and from what I hear, we won't be seeing him until the new year. So hopefully there's a full recovery. I think I'm more interested in Jamaica using him rather than Chelsea. Stefan Wright, you're saying, do we realize Ravel is 31? 31, 32? Yes, but he's not played competitive football for a couple of years. And if you've played football at any level, Stefan, you will realize that it'll take you ages to get back into the pace of a professional game if he is signed. If he is signed anywhere, all right? We're in September now, and the man now playing football. All right. Yes, Conrad. I never want to mention him name, but you mentioned him name, Robbie. Yes. Jeremy, you said, Conrad, we need someone with good pace and skills on the right to match the Mari on the left. Well, that would have been Leon. So, you know, I mean, it's black man playing against black man, so Pierce will meet Pierce. You know, it's not like we're playing Australia. I saw Australia lose to some DB team at home, an Arab team in the World Cup, concacaf, the Oceania World Cup qualifying, but they were just quicker than them. So, you know, if we have pace, yes, but you know, concacaf, I play a concacaf, so I don't really expect nobody to be any quicker than anybody else. It's not like we're playing America or them heavy foot Canadian man them. All right. Yes, Jeremy and Stefan and Conrad and I laugh over Ravel age, 31. And he's had more clubs than Jack Nicholson, as them say. Or is it Jack Nicholas? You know, a Rolling Stone gathers no moss. And at the moment, you know, I might look for a contract along with Hector or whatever. So we will see. Big question for you, Mr. Smart. The next window, do you think the coach will start weeding out players? That's an interesting question, you know, Jeremy. I don't really think there's much to weed out. If I had a blank slate, and I always think that we should always try and put ourselves in the mind or the position of the manager. If I came in to manage Jamaica, I would pick up on the last squad, which Hal Grimson had, and then go from there. As an English manager, I would probably focus on a lot of the English players, based players, and then go from there and then look at the local based players and then see if I can pick out the best. But the local based players, he's going to be relying on the technical committee to recommend them to him. So I think it's going to be heavily weighted towards the overseas based players, but I don't think there's much to weed out. I mean, Jamal Lowe could have played himself back in, but if we really think about what's out there, there's only 2 players missing. Dujon I don't really count because he's never really been, I think, part of the Jamaican side to that degree where you see him as a regular. It's really Leon Bailey and the boys in Turkey who kind of tried to force a move. His name escapes me at the moment. Those are probably the only two major players who are not in the squad, but there's nothing which I think is crucial that is missing. There's going to be players which every supporter out there wants to see in the team, but we can all mention names. And I think as supporters, we will mention every name we have. But I think, there's not really much to weed out. I think at the moment the squad is streamlined, which probably supports Devon Porter's comments that there's players who can come in and maybe strengthen, which may mean that some players maybe might be oozed out. Michael Hector, possibly. I can't see him starting, and the fact that he hasn't got a club may count against him. And I don't think a player should be there just for, support or cheerleader business like we've done in the past. So I don't think there's much to weed out. There's always going to be one or two. We have a mixture of, at the moment, if we look at the team, we have Premiership players, we have Championship players, and a sprinkling of a little bit of whatever. One playing in Saudi Arabia, two playing in Saudi Arabia, and a few others. So, at least we're in a position to start from there rather than coming in and we just realized that we got a squad which wasn't really good in the first place and we just have to get rid of half of them, like what happened when Tapper left. Conrad Ravel is his Jesus in boots. Well, obviously you're a big Ravel fan. Guys, when you think that this coach will start throwing away players, it depends on the schedule of the international games. I mean, the next window is it October? But yeah, I don't think he'd be throwing away too much. And I think injuries will take a lot of decisions out of your hands as well. Players are going to get injured between now and the next camp, as we've seen with Whisper. Yes, Ronaldo Cephas, Jeremy Lee, thank you. Yes, absolutely right. No technical skills. I agree with you. Without dissing the player, he is what I would call, a lady told me this great description years ago. She said, you can be all flap and no takeoff. All right? All flap like a bird, but no takeoff. So that's Cephas. Lots of pace, but no finishing power. Just like the Fulham player, the one, a memory can't escape me at the moment, because I must say, what the time in the UK now? 2 o'clock. The hench, big, muscle-bound, pacey one who plays for Fulham, used to play for Wolves, who, when you look at him and you look at his pace, you would expect him to be 15 goal a season, man. But once you show him the goal, it's like Doppy him. Yeah, his finishing leaves a lot to be desired. He scored the other week, but really, his output is disappointing. And Cephas, I think, comes into that bracket as well. Ask Devon Porter which player he would use to strengthen the team. Well, over to you, Devon, if you're still online. Conrad, you said better players out there, no JPL. So Carl, big team player pick from semi-pro league. Yeah, I mean, I always used to say in commenting on other streams that if we want to be considered a big team and be taken seriously, then we want players from the strongest leagues in the world. Yeah, no USL second, third division. You want players who are playing top teams week in, week out, if possible. Yeah, we know the championship is, I think if you look at the top 10 leagues in the world, the championship is in the top 10. So we got the Premier League, the championship, the USA League, but just that division. Me personally, I wouldn't consider anything lower than that. And then whichever leagues around the world. We've got no one playing in South America. We've got no one playing in a strong Eastern European league. So it's got to be a top 10 league. And I think that's what McLaren will focus on. I think he will have to bow down to pressure. And I think he recognizes it as well, being on the technical committee looking at development of football in Jamaica, that he will realize the need to maybe include local players periodically. But how he goes about that, that's what he's being paid for. All right. Yes, real ball, I agree with you. We've got to be patient. The coach has had one game. Yes, we didn't win and the team looked very cohesive. I would say yes, but then it's levels. Cuba came to defend. We weren't able to break them down. Well, we were able to break them down. We just weren't able to take our chances. Let's get it correct. Um, and so I think if we can build on that, like I said, the game tomorrow, stay in the game for the first half an hour, keep it tight, and then we impose ourselves on the game. Yeah. Jeremy Lee, come on, real baller. No one blaming the coach. No one's really blaming him. There's comments out there that they will blame the coach, but we know, those who know football know that you probably wouldn't blame the coach. There was nothing the coach did on the night in selection or anything. Even the changes, I understand that I can't trust what I don't know. So, you know, I'm not going to be convinced in bringing on these players. I don't know. And if I do, I'm going to leave it really late. And you're always in the hope that you might nick a goal. I've been in that position. I've coached and managed semi-professionally here in the UK. So I know you can be in that position where you're hoping for a goal, a last-minute goal. You know, there's a fair percentage of goals scored in football in the 45th and the 90th minute. So you will always go on that basis. Yes, I hear that, Conrad. Jamaicans are think it big. I think he is giving them hope, the locals. Yeah. McGee had 2 good games in a substandard league, and the church want him in the team. I don't know what the church mean, but I was listening to a YouTube podcast today where the host was extolling the virtues of McGee. Now, as I said, I think McGee technically is one of the better players I've seen come out of Jamaica. And by that, and technically, there are players who are great on the ball. There are players who are fantastic, taking people on, finding it. With McGee, his awareness is what impressed me. And that was both in schoolboy football and the short time he spent in the JPL. It's unusual to find a player, and I'm not comparing him to Xavi, okay? But just that awareness. What people say about Xavi is that you couldn't get near him, you couldn't tackle him. It's like he had eyes in the back of your head. When I used to coach, I used to say, if you don't know how to drive a car and you play midfield, you won't be a good midfielder, because you need to know what's going on. You need to check your rearview mirror and constantly looking left, right, and seeing what's behind you. McGee seemed to have that ability. Now, why he didn't succeed when he went to Belgium, I don't know. Maybe it was the wrong country, maybe it was the wrong club. Maybe he wasn't built, maybe he needed to bulk up a bit, I don't know. But he's playing in a league which is not the top league. And once again, I say, put yourself in the manager's position. If it was you, would you pick McGee playing in that league? I know I wouldn't. As much as I'm a big fan of McGee, trust me, I'm a big fan of him. I would not pick him playing in that league, because I know what would turn out. The intensity, the level of competition, the fitness will not be the same as someone playing week in, week out in a top league. And he doesn't seem to complete a lot of 90 minutes. So Germany, so today McGee name came up on the J2 show. It's worth a discussion. It's worth a discussion, you know. I mean, if we're looking at a Ravel, then there's a McGee. But whether he's not really had a proper run of games, or he just never took his chance. And in the end, if you got one game to take your chance, you have to take your chance. You really have to take your chance. Yeah. You know, there's no excuse. So if McGee has not been a consistent selectee for the national team, then whenever he gets his chance, he's got to impress. Yeah, he's got to impress. Conrad, you say you could coach Jamaica team. I know you have big license. God, America on that on a dish like that. I don't know about I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Um, Generally, I personally respect the manager and whatever decision he made. Yeah, being a manager myself. I will, you know, like I said, I'm repeating myself. I will always put myself in a manager's shoes. And but because I've managed and I've been involved in big clubs and it's been semi-professional, but I've scouted for a professional club. You know how these things. I've spent enough time in dugouts and beside managers who are qualified and at a high level. You know, there's certain things you will not do, you will not risk, you will not trust. Yeah. And I'm not going to argue with someone with superior coaching credentials than me, especially when it comes to decision making and how he sets up a team. You know, I may give my comment, I may criticize, but I'd never diss him and, in my idiot, I don't know, am I doing all them something because, those guys have worked hard to be qualified in those positions and they have the CV. And not at every club you are going to succeed. Not everybody is going to have going to be bankrolled like a Pep at Bayern and Barcelona and Man City. Yeah. Um, like you said, you see what happened at Chelsea with Graham Potter. My ball up money, but couldn't succeed, and he only had a short period of time. But he didn't really have any excuses. If you can't pick 11 players for go out there and win, and all of them worth 50 million, then it's on you. Conrad, you say, hell no, McGee not in Revel League. Probably not, probably not. But I will tell you a story. I once was coaching a team here in the UK, and a guy who at that time I didn't know played for Queen's Park Rangers, Abdel Tarat, came to our session and brought a friend of his who was also Moroccan and saying this guy's a good player. He was trying to find a local non-league team for him and can he bring him and train with us? And he did, and this guy was very good. However, the story's not about that player, it's about Abdel Tarat. Abdel Tarat had skills to sell. Yeah, he was a better player than Ravel, in my opinion. Yeah, he smashed it in the championship for one season or 2 seasons, and then he left and Benfica. I can't remember the clubs he went to. But certainly in the UK, he's one of the players similar to Ravel, but I would say superior to Ravel. But if I say Abdel Tarat, how many of you guys would have heard of him? You'd have to Google him. Yeah, Google him on YouTube and have a look at him. And especially see what the name of the manager escapes me now. Used to manage Sheffield United and about a million others. He had him, and he single-handedly got QPR promotion the season they came up from the Championship. So Jeremy Lee, once we can straighten out our midfielder situation, I think that we'll be forced to reckon with. Well, we can say that, but where's this midfielder going to come from? He's either 17, 18 and yet to be discovered or at an academy, or he doesn't exist and he's 26, 27, 28. Yeah. Morgan Gibbs White was probably the one everyone earmarked, but Morgan Gibbs White was interviewed after being selected for England and said it was always his dream to play for England, not Jamaica. All right. And some of those players, you can look at them and know, so they've never set foot in Jamaica. So it'd be hard for them to commit themselves to it. But that's a discussion for another time. And that's been discussed a lot with other players. I just feel like if you want to play for Jamaica, you'll make it known. Yeah. But footballers tend to not say a lot because they probably don't know a lot. And also there's pressures from their family as well. Yeah. I met Morgan Gibbs White's partner, whether she's his partner still now. I met her 2 years ago at a funeral, a work colleague's funeral, and she was there with someone else, a friend of hers, a girlfriend of hers. And from the discussion then, I knew that he would never consider playing for Jamaica. Never. I don't care what he's told people. Yeah. Me know enough people in England who have Jamaican roots and intentions, and they're not hard to spot. And the thing with football is like half of them will not tell you the truth. Yeah, they're in a holding pattern until they have an offer which suits them. So so we need someone like a Gibbs White, who I'm very impressed with. But if anybody can name one like him, file another chat. My understanding is that McGee lost his position. He's playing now because the people who took his spot are out injured. then he has to take his spot, real baller. He have to grab it with both hands. Yeah, you get a chance. If you're a professional, you get a chance after being on the bench. You have to smash it. You have to take risk. You have to decide, you know what, man, I'll pass. I'm going to try lash one in from 25 yards. Those are the things you got to do. You can't play safe. Yeah. I don't want to see a show reel on YouTube with you playing in USPL 2 with nice music. And then we realize you get 60 minutes this one, 40 minutes this one, 30 minutes. Once you play 80, 90 minutes, and you're a main player. Yeah. So Tyreek only plays 20% for his team games. Ah, there you go. Jeremy, you just answer it for me. If you're only playing 25%, why has your manager not got faith in you? And if your manager hasn't got faith in you, why are we crowdfunding you for the Jamaica national team? Yeah. If you are only playing 25% of your team's games and you are fit, why are we going to parachute you into the national team to start? Yeah, and if you're not going to start, what's the sense in including you? Yeah. Why bring in a player who's never going to play unless you're going to fulfill the quota system? Yeah. Yeah, playing for England one more time on it. Yeah, more time on it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have to realize, you have to realize whether it's a Ghanaian or Nigerian or whatever, to play for England. I mean, I saw a list the other day of players playing for England who were born in other countries, and it's mostly the black players. Huh? But yeah, if Congo come calling or England, you're gonna play for England generally, yeah, unless there's some kind of loyalty um, passed on from your parents where you are entrenched in your country or your parents' country, even though you're not born there. Yeah. So there has to be some loyalty where you want to play and say to England, no. But believe me, if you play for England, then you can ask for more money. You have nice carer pick you up, first class, everything. Nice girl that carry your passport for you. For the nothing. You just have to watch when England have friendly match. The SUV them roll up with the player them. They're not even have to carry them back then. You can compare that to get a normal economy class flight for come to Jamaica. Yeah, with all the problems, which these days it's good to hear are no more. But still, fish, fowl, which one you want? Jeremy Lee, yes, I agree. We only want people who are committed to us, not waiting or watching to see if England is going to pass them on first. Yeah, I agree. We want people who want to commit themselves. Yeah. No problem if you want to wait for England. Yeah. No problem if you want. That is your choice, exactly. But I'd rather the Michael Antonio route where him come and say people I'm ready for play for Jamaica. But unfortunately, I think him say a tapper or somebody go watch him and he had a stinker. So it took him years after that before he came up for consideration, or they didn't come back to him. Either way. But it would be nice for a player to say, boy, how come you end up playing for Jamaica? I called them up. I wanted to play for them. You know? So, but that's at 17, 18, it's hard to get a player to commit. We already heard the issues with Declan Rice and pretty boy left winger for Manchester City. Yeah, and they were trying to stitch up the Northern Ireland manager or the Republican Ireland manager at the time. Why didn't he get them to commit to the Republic of Ireland? Because one, he's not deceptive. And if players know that you are deceptive, you will never get a player who's going to play for you and trust you. And also, the players already had decided they wanted to play for England. So, nothing wrong with that. McLaren said we must look for players in their 27 and up because a lot of England players think they'll play. He's speaking the truth. I know he got absolutely castigated about it, and he probably said it in the wrong way. I heard what he said, and yes, he probably said it in the wrong way, but he's probably speaking the truth because a player at 2021 breaking through in the first team, blah, 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 is not going to commit to the country of his parents' birth. Saka was never going to play for Nigeria coming through Arsenal's academy. So if Saka wasn't going to do it, why are we beating up other people who are going to do it for? Because believe me, Nigeria, Ghana, and whatever, they focus on those players and try and get them to play for them, but they don't succeed either. Yeah. If I'm playing in an academy in England, all right, I was born in the UK. I grew up in Jamaica from 9 until 17 before I left, came back to Europe, and back and forth since then. However, for me, all right, because I grew up in a Jamaica, I go school in a Jamaica, I raised in a Jamaica, my mother and father there Jamaica, my grandparents there Jamaica. If I was a professional footballer and Jamaica come call for me in England, I 100% would have picked Jamaica. Because I grew up yassa and I love the country and more than want to play for them, I make them better. But that's me personally. Yeah, I wouldn't want to play for England. Unfortunately, I only played semi-professional, so that never come into consideration. You know. Yes, Hunter Sport, bless up. Conrad, I would tell my sons to England. Yeah, in the end, you can tell them, but in the end, it's their choice. But the parents them do have a big influence. Yes. Conrad Smith, I believe that now. Conrad Smith is all about the money. I don't think it's all about the money. Money has a fair part to play in it, but if he's a good player, playing for Jamaica aren't really. When you go for negotiation, as long as you're doing it for your club team, nobody now look on Jamaica and say, "Boy, you play for Jamaica, so we'll get 20% less." Now work like that, cause you don't get the money playing for England. You might get the promotional activities, the promotional benefits if England qualify for the World Cup, but a whole heap of them man they give away the money for charity. Your appearance money for England, you don't get it. You have to give it to charity. So it's the promotional aspects you benefit from. I'm fine. But why not be a big star for Jamaica rather than one of many stars for England? Makes sense to me. Why not be a big star for Jamaica rather than one of many stars for England? So, that's my philosophy. Anyway, people, it's been very enjoyable chatting to everybody. We started off with a preview of the game and we actually continued with heritage and players and so on. So it was a very good discussion. Thoroughly enjoyed it. My name is Leroy Smart. Hopefully you guys have a good night and evening wherever you are, especially in Jamaica. All right. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will hopefully be doing a review of the Honduras game. And we can all meet up and chew the fat about that one when that happens. All right. So good luck to the Reggae Boys. Hopefully you guys all watch the game, getting a VPN ready if you can't afford cable fees, Ray. And we got from there. Let me just read one last comment. Jeremy Lee, yes, so we need to understand and respect that. If we're calling a play between the ages of 16 to 27 and they said no, we should all understand that. On the other hand, don't come running. Yeah. In the end, if you call a player, all right, let me just go through this one last time. If you call a player at, let's say 20, that's more reasonable. All right, at 17, 18, you have to be some generational talent for you. For the Kadamatri thing, I couldn't understand that. Because the brother play reserve team football for Sheffield Wednesday, few appearances in the first team. And we are going like, say, him at the next coming of Christ for bomb rushing another team. But that's a discussion for another time. But anyway, let's say we get a player at 20 and we approach on him and said, no, I want to play for England. And then by the time 27 come, England will pick him, but him tearing up the league. It's up to the manager at the time whether to consider that or the JFFF. Because the manager at that time won't be Steve McLaren now. It could be somebody else. If that person come in and say, right, I'm going to want this player, what we are going to do? And the player want player, it's really the reception we will give him and he has to accept that. If it leak out that he was approached at 20 and never want to play for Jamaica, then I forgot accept the fallout if him come at 27 when England didn't come calling and his only option is Jamaica. Jamaica qualify for the World Cup and all of a sudden he make himself available. On that basis, I don't think he should be. I think if he just become available because Jamaica qualify for the World Cup, no. But then that's a managerial choice. Yes, big up Conrad Smith, Jeremy Lee. Yes, you need to tell the JFF to deal with players better to be more professional. I agree. They need what you call a charge de mission, like you have to the Olympic Games and all them something. Where you take care of the players, then PR, but now Manning's man and them people that do them something now. Make sure your flight arrive. Make sure you get your ticket. Somebody for follow up. Make sure shuttle pick you up from airport, take you to hotel. Make sure any of your dietary requirements is being met. Your family them get access to visit you. Ray. Um, yeah, you know. But yeah, man, we can't sit man them are venting at the chat. Our former dumb coach was the Bailey problem. Which coach was that, Jeremy? Um, Tapper, Helgar, Paul Hall. I've had quite a few in the last 4 years. So we'll have to see. Hopefully Bailey, um, well, he's not, he's back in the fold, which is only a good thing. And hopefully games will come up in the next international window if he's fit that him can show him stuff. You know, no doubt. People on the outside looking in will say he's a player who should be in the national team, and you know we can't turn that down. That turns off a lot of players, a lot of our players' lifestyle, not cutting it. A lot of our players are lost. Yeah, but then you really want humble players play for you as well, which you have to big up your Latibadiers and your Lambakisis and all of them people there who just committed from early. I mean, Latibadia played in the World Youth Cup final for England and has committed himself to Jamaica. So it's attitudes like that you want. And McLaren said the right thing, only interested in players who want to play for you. You should not run down players. You know, in my little world of the coaching and managerial experience I had, you know, you don't want to run down a player. If a player don't want to play for you, don't bother. Can you imagine McLaren in England jumping in car and you know, drive up to a player now or buck him up after a game and say, yo, like you to play for Jamaica. This. And if the player just say, not interested or come back later on, then, there's plenty of players who've said that for Jamaica. And I'm like, if I'm on approach you right now and you don't want to play, then amen, so let it be. Yes, Jeremy, you're talking about Kadamatre. Yes. Oh, no, not Leon. Okay, sorry, Jeremy. Sorry, man. Okay. I have seen nothing with Bailey Kadamatre for him to be warranted to have been jettisoned into that squad for the Gold Cup. I saw nothing for him to have been parachuted into the squad, and I am glad that the JFF were burnt on that one, and that's a lesson for them to learn as well. Yeah, that kid had done nothing to be put into that squad, nothing at all. He's not a prolific goal scorer. He's not developed, and he has gone from being a good talent of which Sheffield Wednesday had high hopes on to my last recollection not featuring and rumored to be maybe being sold. So but it's a case where players have to deserve their selection, and there's various. I couldn't understand that one, but then I couldn't understand why Sven Goran Eriksson had put in Theo Walcott in the squad all them years ago for no reason. So there's always strange things which happen in football, but that Kadamatre one couldn't figure it out at all. Yeah, and for the youth, for then, you know, reveal his England selection the way he did, make that be a lesson. Yeah. He and his family think they could do better. Yes, nothing wrong with family always trying to do better for you, but with football, many are called and few are chosen. Yeah. Many kids make academies and under 21s, and very few make the grade. All you have to do is Google the squads from any under 21 World Cup, any under 21 UEFA Championships, and see how many of them make it. You'll be shocked. Yeah. Look at Maradona. Maradona won the World Youth Cup in, I think, 89 or something like that. Maybe before, 79 or something like that. You look at how many players in that squad made it of any note. Very few. So at 17, 18, you don't know what they're going to turn out at 2021. Yeah. There's not many Sakas out there. Yeah. Not many at all. How can you, as a coach, name a player in your squad and then he posted gleefully when another country called him up that well, did he do that? I don't know. I know he posted that he'd been selected for England, but you know, um, yeah, whether that was a JFF or Hal Grimson or just lack of communication or lack of foresight, I don't know. I don't know. And that one will remain a mystery. But I think it. I don't. I don't think we have been disadvantaged by not having that particular player no longer associated with the national team. I think there's certain ways to behave and certain things you make clear. And when you're in a professional club, you know you have to handle yourself and hold yourself up in a certain manner. And I think that was just a shoddy episode. I had no idea that I'm of an age where his dad, I remember playing for Everton. Short mixed race player with little locks, twists, whatever you want to call it. I had no idea he had any links to Jamaica through his father. And for Bailey, once I saw Bailey, I'm like, which part of him know Jamaica? Which part of him know Jamaica for commit himself to Jamaica? For fly upon a plane, go sit down with 22, 21 hardened yardies, listen to conversation, try and chat patois, have the piss taken out of him at 17, 18 years old. What association does he have to Jamaica? What made him get his passport? Who get him passport for him? I could be speaking out of turn here, but that's a culture shock for any youth. Too little, too much, too soon. As you said, Conrad, culture shock. Yeah. It was grimmy. The man was weak like a young, like a young baby. Yeah, I mean, yes. Certain managers kind of give you a kind of feeling of their personality and strength, like a Van Gaal. You know that you wouldn't ramp with a Van Gaal, but with Hal Grimmy, you could have ramp with him. Certain, with Alex Ferguson, even before he got the fame he got at Man United, so he's not a man you ramp with. Arteta, just doesn't come through the door. Same as not a man you ramp with. But with Grimmy, you could have get up to anything with him, man. You know. So never convinced. And I think when you're getting a coach from Iceland, certain things you expected. Now, conservative people, very reserved, and the team was a reflection of him, I think. Team normally plays in your own style. Yeah, Van Gaal is a disciplinarian, look like him beating Pitney them before them got to bed. His teams have had to play in patterns of which he dictated. Pass it left, pass it right, drop into the hole. I've read a book about the Ajax team which he coached, and it's like you have to go to school and learn numbers and patterns on the pitch. So, but you can just look at Van Gaal and you can see that's how he likes to play, you know. So, especially if you can't link their playing career with their coaching career, then just their managerial style will show you how their teams will play. But you have someone like Pep where you knew as a player he was vibrant, expansive, and so you could see that his managerial career could be opened up from how he used to play or linked to it, and so it's turned out. But someone like Louis Van Gaal, who nobody saw play, you just know him as a disciplinarian, and his team's playing the same way. Anyway, people, good night. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee before I go to bed, and hopefully I shall speak to you guys in the next 48 hours. All right. Big up Conrad, Jeremy, everybody was in the chat. Thanks very much, and hopefully you like, share, and subscribe. Good night, everybody.